Hey everyone, David Nagel here. Today I'm taking you inside the universal law of cause and effect. If you haven't watched my video from last week, I talked about the universal law of perpetual transmutation of energy, and today's law, the law of cause and effect, will illustrate how it works. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the definition, real-world examples of how you can use this law to benefit your life and so much more. Make sure that you subscribe and comment down below and give us your biggest takeaways. Let's go. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, cause and effect is the law of laws. And here's the reason why. There is no such thing as having an effect without a cause, and no such thing as having a cause without an effect. I think one of the biggest problems that we have as human beings is not understanding what the cause is of so many of the effects that we are living with in our lifetime. The greatest thing about human beings is that we are the cause of what we think. Do you realize that if you grow up in a situation where you're basically taught everything that you think is the effect of something else, that you're literally giving away your power in life? You have no power to create the life that you want. But as we talked about with the perpetual law of transmutation of energy, what's fascinating about that is that that law gives us the power to create a life unbelievable in comparison to anything that has come before us in our life. Why is that? Because as we move from generation to generation, we understand more and in more depth about how to think, the way we think, and the perpetual infinite amount of information that exists within the universe. Remember, all the knowledge that ever was or ever will be is 100% present in all places at the same time. And the way for us to tap into it is to understand how our marvelous mind works. Cause and effect allows us to take the idea of thought and remove chaos and bring order to what would seem to be an unordered universe, so to speak. A universe that has chaos in it, a life that seems to have problems that are unsolvable. But cause and effect shows us that not only is every problem solvable, we can literally create our life exactly the way that we want it to be without the problems that we think that we have to suffer from. So many people in life and throughout history have lived in a time, in a world, and in a circumstance where they think they have to suffer because they do not understand the effect of what's happening around them from a causation perspective. Today I wanted to really kind of get across the idea that not only do you see and experience the effect of life, but you can literally understand what causes it, and by that you can understand how to change that cause in order to not only create the results that you want, but you can change your circumstances on a dime, and you can create the environment that you want to live in. That gives you the most amazing power over your own life. So let's get started with this idea. Every effect that you experience in your life has a cause. The question is, what is the cause? Now, when we ask that, there's all different places that we can go, but the mistake that we make is thinking that something outside of ourselves is causing the effect that we're experiencing. Understand the greatest power that human beings have is our ability to choose. The power that we have to literally choose in our mind. That is one of our mental faculties, the ability to choose. And as we choose, what we're literally doing is marshaling our power around the idea of causation. When we think of an idea, when we think of something that we want to create, we begin to walk down the path of causing the thing that we want to literally manifest or to create in our life. Now, I am not saying in any way that all we have to do is think about things and our life changes. We obviously have to do very physical things within that process. There is an entire process that goes from cause to effect. And we have to understand all of the pieces that are in between those two ideas. However, if you understand that every effect has a cause and you start to think about what is the cause of the effect that I'm experiencing, when you begin to understand what that cause is, you can then change it. That's why there is no problem that we live with on this planet that does not have a solution, because we have the ability to find out what the cause is to absolutely anything. There's no such thing as having a question or having a problem or having an issue in our life that does not have a cause to it or does not have a cause that we cannot understand. Our conscious mind is the greatest computer that was ever created throughout the entire universe. And it is filled with the ability not only to think in the idea of causation, but to recognize it when it sees it. So if you think about, how do you want your life to look like? What are the results that you actually want in your life? Then ask yourself another important question. Where do you think those results come from? How do you think that you actually get a result that you want to have, or possibly even want to change in your life? Why do we ask this question? Because very often we're raised in an environment where nobody actually teaches us that the way that we think is creating, it is literally causing the results that we're actually experiencing. What do we do next? Well, the idea is this. If we understand the knowledge that is built into the idea of causation itself, and we start to understand how that knowledge works, we can put it together piece by piece by piece, understanding what is the first thing that we have to do to create a result that we want. So here you have some kind of an idea, something that you desire in your life, and you want to literally create that result. So what's the first thing that we actually do? The first thing is that we build an image in our mind of the way we want the outcome to be. The image is the first place that everything starts. For example, if you go back to the idea of Edison with the light bulb, it's one of the most famous stories in history based on the law of cause and effect. And most of us have heard this story before, but there's something about it that I have always found extremely fascinating. And here's what it is. When Edison really started thinking about the idea of creating an electric light bulb, we have to understand that there were none, okay? In other words, prior to him inventing the light bulb, we had candles, we had gas and oil lamps, we had lightning, we had the stars, we had the sun. These are different forms of light that we recognized as human beings. But the light that would come from an electric light bulb, not only did we not have it, we've never seen anything like that before. We wouldn't know how it worked. We wouldn't know how to create it. We wouldn't even know how would we get electric into each person's home in order for us to be able to use an electric light. But here's what's interesting. Edison didn't start with, how do I create power stations and how do I wire literally cities so that electricity can flow from a power station through a city to a farmhouse where that person can use an electric light. He didn't start there. He started with the idea of the light bulb itself. He had an image in his mind and a desire in his heart to create this unique device that would allow us to illuminate our entire world. And in order for him to be able to do that, he had to follow this law, the law of cause and effect, because he was already thinking along the lines of perpetual transmutation of energy. The image came to his mind. The knowledge came to his mind. Where did it come from? It came from the universe. That knowledge was already in the universe. He built this image in his mind based on how he thought it would work, and then he had to go through the painstaking trial of figuring out what is the precise cause in order to create the effect that I want, and what is the order in which I have to do this to get the result. As he went through this process, there's many stories out there of how long it took. I've heard 1,000 tries up to 10,000 tries. But what's fascinating is however many tries it was, he didn't quit, and he kept working on the problem until he found the solution. What was the problem that he was actually trying to figure out? What is the cause that creates the effect of this light bulb to be able to work? And he did this through the trial and error. He would come up with an idea, he would implement that idea based on the knowledge and the information that he saw in his mind. He would apply it to his physical world. Remember, this isn't just thinking and it shows up. He's applying it to his physical world, and he's testing it to see, is this the correct cause that allows me to have the effect or the outcome that I desire? Through that process, that painstaking process, he figured out one piece at a time of what caused the specific result that he was looking for. And as he did that, he created the light bulb, which then created a whole subset of different things that allowed us to actually be able to have light. So I want you to think about something that's important, because not only did the cause and effect create the light bulb, it also created the desire to really invent and conceptualize things that we had no idea how those things would work. Like a generating station that was strong enough to generate enough electricity and then wire homes throughout an entire city so that the light bulb could actually be useful. All of that had to come into mind, but there was no reason for it to come to a person's mind if there was not actually a cause for it to start to begin with. What was the cause? The cause was Edison creating this light bulb, following his own idea of cause and effect, and then it literally started a process of creating more and more different change of cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. In fact, that's how all life manifests. That's how the idea of evolution perpetuates itself through the world that we live in. It's how things continue to grow and to morph and to manifest to become more efficient. It's also how things that are less efficient die off and remove themselves from life, because it is not part of the cause and effect universe that keeps life moving forward, advancing and evolving in the beautiful world that we live in. Here's something else that may not be too fun to think about, but it's extremely important. We live in a world right now that has a lot of real terrible effects. Let's understand something. There's causes to those effects, folks. If we understand what those causes are for real, and they're not just made up ideas, we can change those causes so we don't have to live in a world of fear, frustration, oppression, racism, any other problem that's going on in our life right now. Every single thing that we experience as an effect has a cause. When we understand what the true cause is, through our marvelous mind, we can change it and live in the most amazing world that you've ever even had an idea of that was possible. And it's all possible because the first law, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, then is put into practical use by understanding the law of cause and effect and how we manifest something from the beautiful knowledge that exists in the universe into the physical instruments that we have in our hand that allow humanity to advance forward on a daily basis. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming Universal Law videos. I'll be dropping a new one each week. See you again soon.